I was told by ETRetail that, this is a face-off. So which means ask some very uncomfortable questions. Because a whole lot of questions are never asked in forums like this. They just want to be very nice and goody-goody. So just to kick this off, a couple of things which I just wanted to say before we start asking the questions. So in the last decade, malls have become experience destinations. That's what malls have always been, trying to say that we tend to move or gyrate towards more experience, not just shopping centers. But the question is, has the economics evolved at the same pace? The other thing is that the Indian malls are pricing themselves, or are they really pricing themselves as partners, or is it retail real estate? Please don't take it out on me. These are questions which I'm asking, so I'm neutral. Yeah, tomorrow they won't give me space otherwise. That's what I've been told. Okay, now, partnership, dependency, or power imbalance. What is it about? Today, when I talk to a set of retailers, they have a set of problems that they cope up with malls. And then when I speak to the malls, they say, hey, here we are with hundreds of crores of investment, which is going into developing a particular shopping center. And obviously, at the end of the day, in every board meeting, everybody has to answer about the ROIs that are being generated. But there are certain questions which we have framed today, which I think both the malls and the retailers would love to answer. So we'll just, I would move like this. So Rajinder, the question to you is, should malls share the downside risk during industry slowdowns? And specifically here, I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about industry slowdowns, which are normally seen maybe because of various reasons, but do malls want to participate in the slowdown? And if yes, how?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. See, what happens is you have asked a question which has a lot of bearing on lot many things. The first point you have to understand from a business perspective is the risk involved for either parties. So when a shopping center developer assesses his risk and the way a retailer assesses his risk, the retailer assesses his risk from a pure business and outflow perspective, that he was expecting 25 lakhs a month of business and he's paying a 5 lakh rupee rental. Now, anything which is less than 25 lakhs top line and anything more than 5 lakhs is serious risk for him. So how does he operate, or what should he do? From a developer perspective, you have to understand that he has invested 1,500 crores in an asset. If he doesn't, his debt, his interest cost is out of that 1,000 crores. If he has invested, his interest cost itself is 120 crores or 100 crores. And then he has all other expenses which are non-related to CAM, which he has otherwise, because he has all the wages, he has all the salaries, he has everything else other than the team which is operating the mall. So his exposure for collapse is much higher as compared to a retailer. So you can't actually correlate together saying that the amount of risk that a retailer takes and the amount of risk that a developer takes is same. Having said this, in a non-COVID period kind of a scenario, I think most of the mature malls and most of the mature retailers do partner with each other in times of bad. So typically, if supposing some retailer who's not doing so good, he will have 2-3 choices. There are times when renegotiations happen. There are times when exit happens. There are times when the mall goes and says, hey, you're not doing good business. We want this place empty and vacated. There are times when retailer goes and says, hey, I'm not doing good. I want to vacate without X, Y, Z of penalties. And the mall does support. So is there a challenge in a relationship when people want upside and downside going together? Barring certain few aberrations, I think that platform does exist where this cooperation does happen on a very regular basis. It may not be visible to everybody because not everybody sees this from that depth. But when you actually go into the detailing, you'll realize that this cooperation and support does happen between both of them.
Thank you. Karthik, the next one is for you. What percentage of a retailer's P&L today goes into occupancy cost in malls in India? And let's be very honest about it, is that sustainable or not sustainable in some cases?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So a good question. There's a P&L and the occupancy across the retailers, across the brand, the good or a healthy occupancy cost would be around 14 to 17%. Anything above is your red flag. And some brands like the luxury brands or they can afford about 22, 25% if their gross margins are more than 65 and 75%. There are brands in the market who can afford that. But yes, sustainable is less than 18%. Anything more than that, the brand should rethink on how to internally grow their revenue and then reach out to the malls for help. So firstly, internal expenses needs to be controlled and then reach out to the mall for support.
Great. Lovely.
Sanjeev, I just want to come in for a minute. This, what Rajendra said, no, we're already sharing the downside in many ways, no, of retail when they are not doing well. For example, in case of the stores who are at PRS, pure revenue share, if they don't perform, I mean, we can't do much about it, and it's not any of our fault. You know, similarly, revenue share, if it's not coming to us, we are only getting the minimum guarantee in the hope that someday they will eventually do very well and we'll be partner there. So beyond that, it's not possible to see that.
Sure. So, you know what? Actually, I was coming to you, Yogeshwar. In fact, this is exactly the same question that you're trying to answer.
Yeah.
That revenue share leases are called risk sharing.
Yes.
That is what retailers are told when they go across the table to negotiate, saying, look, we are taking the risk with you, therefore we are ready to do revenue share with you. However, there's still a clause of minimum guarantee.
Yes.
Which side is it exactly protecting and who is it protecting?
So, I mean, if you look at the business models, can I be upfront?
Be very blatant about it. Yeah.
So basically, in case of a landlord or the mall developer, the risk is so high. Supposing a retailer is coming with a collection which doesn't sell for some reasons, will my property tax will be discounted? Will my EMI will be discounted? All expenses, all our expenses are in the fixed nature. None of the expenses are variable. So those fixed expenses have to be taken care of. So we can't go beyond a point to accommodate somebody else's P&L.
So you mean to say then the retailer is not taking risk?
No, every business has a risk. But in our case, can we shift the mall to another location? The store can be shifted. If the mall starts doing badly, most of the retailers move on in a minute. And every retailer you talk to, they will say, footfall kam hai mall mein. Arey, mall mein footfall aapke liye aayega ya mall ke liye aayega? Mall doesn't sell anything, no. It is the retailers who have to make an effort to sell. And we are dependent on their sales all the time. So the effort has to be on their part. We have done our bit. Now, the first rental check comes when all the investment is completed. अगर 500 करोड़ का मॉल है तो जब 500 करोड़ लग जाता है तो पहला रेंट का चेक आता है और पहली कार पार्किंग मिलती है ना? तो हम तो तब तक होता कोई दूसरा नया मॉल आ जाए साथ में, तो वो वाला रिस्क भी तो है ना. तो रिस्क की बात करेंगे तो दोनों साइड बहुत बड़े रिस्क हैं. और मतलब मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि एक साइड ही रिस्क है, दूसरी साइड बहुत है.
I do understand your point. I think what you're trying to say is the mall's risk is way higher than the brand's risk. But there's the other side of the story which the retailers keep telling is that if there is a very high rental space that we have taken, and if that's a risk for us and it's not happening, it pulls down 5 other profitable stores for us. So the risk that they take of going there is equally from that proportion.
एक लास्ट पॉइंट बहुत बढ़िया पॉइंट है. काफ़ी स्टोर्स जो आए खुले और वो IPO करके यूनिकॉर्न बन गए, उसमें क्यों नहीं पार्टनरशिप दिया? अगर वो लोकेशन नहीं मिलती तो वो लोकेशन, सर बहुत लोगों को हमने ऐसा किया, मतलब एटलीस्ट 10 ब्रांड्स आई नो जिनको हमने जगह, मतलब मैं ह्यूमिलिटी से बोल रहा हूँ, मैं एरोगेंस से नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, कि उनको हमने जगह दी, कॉन्फिडेंस दिखाया कि ये करेंगे, और वो बन गए कुछ और बाद में कह रहे हैं कि विल यू वर्क फॉर अस, मैंने कहा नहीं भाई, मैंने तुम्हारे साथ जो करना था कर दिया. नाउ दे इन अ पोजीशन दैट दे कैन बाय द मॉल आल्सो. तो वो उसमें तो भी मिलना चाहिए था ना
I
कुछ.
think that
I
can
think
be a
Arjun
new
wants to-
point we can put in the lease from now on. Yeah, we should consider.
Everybody doing IPO or going unicorn or raising funds
We can
because
like
of the location.
sweat equity in the lease for the equity.
There's,
Yeah. That's
If
interesting.
Arjun is saying, he'll definitely put it.
I mean, this trip to Mumbai was worth it. Because of
Sanjeev, there's also one more practical point to it. Setting up a 1 million square feet mall can easily be 1,500, 1,800 crore investment, which means a lot of it is debt. I mean, we don't all have that money lying around to do it. And so when you're doing the lease rental discounting model, banks don't look at a revenue share. I can't tell him I'm promising you 15%. I have to give him a rental number for that store because he's looking at the total rent yielding of the asset.
Well, yeah, that's a deep dive you're doing in terms of what is protective and what is non-protective for you, which is point is well taken. However, so now I must go to Samiran. Samiran, this question is for you. In a 9-year lease, right? So that's normally what malls sign, 9 years lease. So in a 9-year lease and in a 3-year trend cycle, does that even make economic sense anymore from a retail point of view?
See, our point of view is going to be different because what I would say a 9-year lease for a retailer, longer the lease period, we have more time for the recovery of the assets, whichever we are putting in. But having said that, coming back to the original point that, see, for our particular industry right now, we have a trend cycle of, let's say, 2 to 3 years. Fashion is changing.
That's what I'm asking.
Every 2 to 3 years. Okay, so the visibility of the business is very short. So, although the lease is fantastic, the lock-in, around the rigidity, which is around the lock-in, see, we all would agree to a fact that dead stores do not do justice to anybody, neither the retailer, neither the mall. Okay, it's about the ecosystem we create and trying to create the balance sheet, which is for everybody. But having said that, you have to give that consideration that, okay, if somebody is not performing at some of the malls and some of the areas, we have to consider it rationally that, okay, my balance sheet is not supporting. It is neither going to help you as a mall or a retailer as well. Bleeding stores cannot make an ecosystem.
Okay, got it. My next question is,
Sorry,
yes.
can I interject? If you find it too much, then I can keep quiet also. But the point is that 9 year के लिए, I mean, कोई certainty है? मतलब आजकल अभी क्या हुआ? अभी तक क्या था? एक transition phase चल रहा है. पहले sellers market था कि यही 2 घड़ियाँ हैं, लेनी है लो, नहीं तो नहीं मिलेगी. यही 3 white color shirt हैं, ये मिलेगी नहीं लेने. तो seller was always at a high. And buyers बेचारे struggle करते थे. मतलब at my मतलब मेरी age थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, तो I have seen that. लेकिन अभी क्या हुआ है, अब ये हो गया है बायर्स मार्केट कि ऑप्शंस बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई हैं. मतलब इतनी सारी ऑप्शंस हैं कस्टमर के पास, तो कंज्यूमर इज़ द किंग. अब रिटेलर आर यूज्ड टू कि नहीं मैं तो ऐसे ही बेचूंगा, पहले वाला जो था कि भाई यही है ये लेना. अब रिटेलर्स को एजिलिटी और दिखानी पड़ेगी, उनको और ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. तो थोड़ा ट्रांजिशन में टाइम लग रहा है, पर हो जाएगा धीरे धीरे.
Okay, so coming back to this, since we are not going very nice here, I will...
Yeah, that's the face-off.
Yeah, so, yeah. So let's do one thing. So first, let's answer about the MG rev share bit.
Guys,
Okay.
I'm sorry, but there are a lot of people who have not answered till now, so please keep it short.
Yeah, absolutely. So see, while your downside is protected through MG, at the very same time, we are saying we are paying rev share if we are performing. We have nothing wrong in that. Okay, at the very same time, while we are saying you are also asking retailers for a certain trading guarantee, okay, the trading density. But at the very same time, that kind of commitment, okay, what kind of mall footfall we are going to do? What kind of mall, let's say, conversion we are going to do? These are not some data which we are also getting. We are not working towards creating an ecosystem here. So that...
एक्चुअली वो हम शेयर इसलिए नहीं करते कि जब हम शेयर करते हैं तो आप लोग उसको इशू बना देते हो कि अगर मैंने बोला कि इतना फुटफॉल आया था तो आप कहते हो कि इसमें तो ग्रोथ हो नहीं रही.
Fundamentally, suppose I am coming as a customer to a mall, at the very same time, I am being reached by 5 retailers of the same mall at the very same day for 5 other things. Why can't we co-create something which can work towards more of an ecosystem?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Samiran. The next question, I'm saving the best for you, Rohit. The next question is for Arjun. Arjun, if a store is driving 18% of the footfall of the mall, if a store is driving 18% of the footfall of a mall, but only 6% of sales productivity, then who is owing whom?
See, I think it depends. It's a, theory of relativity. If it's a mall which is catering to the masses, then I think the store is important. But if it's a mall which is catering to a very premium segment or a bridge to luxury segment, then yes, I mean, a little bit is owed to the mall over there. But again, see, you have to understand that in any scenario, in a retailer-landlord relationship, there cannot be someone owing to someone. It is always a team effort. All, it's like different fingers of the hand. Everyone is playing a separate role in making a mall successful. You cannot say, okay, this is my favorite brand and I will only have a copy paste of this. You need in this scenario, if you have to, name this category, it would be something more like a supermarket, like a smart bazaar or something like that. It is important for a mall. It's important to have a vibe in the mall.
For a second, let's take anchor categories out.
Yeah.
And let's talk non-anchor. If it is driving 18% of the footfall and only 6% of productivity, then are you trying to say that you're not going to question that retailer because that retailer is driving footfall and not sales productivity? Hold on, there's a following question to this. And if yes, then why are the others getting penalized?
See, at my end, what I can talk about my personal experience, we always, analyze the performance basis, sales per square foot, what kind of occupancy cost a retailer is sitting on. So be it 6%, be it 7%, if it's beyond a threshold, I always call the tenants myself. I'm the first person to call them after I get the sales report, and I'm like, what do you think is going wrong, or how do you think we can improve? It has to be taken as a team effort. It cannot be taken as, okay, you cross this threshold, I'm going to throw you out. It cannot be that. There has to be a human factor to it, and that is where a mall has to step in and do some hand-holding. For all the questions that we were discussing before also, what if a brand doesn't do well? Someone has to step in. There has to be a team effort. There has to be good communication. And there has to be impartial, unbiased communication. We have to treat each other equally. We have to respect that the other person is also doing a business. They have to respect that the mall is also doing a business. And we are both here to support each other. As you said, it is an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, you cannot say this is better, that is not nice. Everything is dependent on each other. Everything has to grow together. And if one part doesn't work properly, then the other person has to make up for it.
Yeah.
It cannot be that you just delete this part and you can call it a day.
Just to complement what he's saying, supplement what he's saying is that ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता कि वो 18% फुटफॉल ला रहा है और 6% सेल्स कर रहा है. ऐसा बहुत रेयर. एक एग्जांपल बता सकता है कोई? कैन एनीबडी इन द ऑडियंस कैन थिंक ऑफ समबडी? मुश्किल लगता है. अगर ऐसा कोई है तो मॉल मैनेजमेंट की एनालिसिस वीक है, वो नहीं पकड़ पा रहे इसको कि ऐसा क्यों नहीं हो रहा. समटाइम्स ऐसा होता है कि वो नेसेसरी ईविल होगा. फिर नेसेसरी ईविल भी दो तरह से होगा. या तो उसकी ज़रूरत है इसलिए लोग आ रहे हैं. 18% लोग आ रहे हैं ना, सेल उसकी नहीं हो रही, किसी और की हो रही है, तो इन ए वे तो अच्छा ही है ना. 18% फुटफॉल खींच के लाना मॉल में, वो कुछ तो करने आ रहे हैं ना. कॉफ़ी तो पियेंगे, पार्किंग तो देंगे, आज नहीं तो. और हम समझते हैं कस्टमर स्टैटिक है. कस्टमर इतनी तेज़ी से इवॉल्व होता है. मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ. एक 9-year-old गर्ल फॉर एग्जांपल और ए सन बॉय इज़ इन द मॉल, लगता है कि इररेलेवेंट है. लेकिन विद इन 5 years से 7 years मैंने देखा कि एक 11 year का बच्चा है, वो सीए बन जाता है 7-8 साल में, और उसकी सारी एस्पिरेशंस, वो ही बिकम्स ए कस्टमर. सो कस्टमर ग्रेजुएट होता है और इन द प्रोसेस कस्टमर बन रहे हैं रोज.
Sanjeev, there's a third perspective on this. If he's driving 80% of my footfall and he's contributing to 6% of my sales, but if his occupancy cost is healthy, it's a win-win. You have to give us the occupancy cost of what his store is at. If he's at a healthy occupancy cost, I'd love to have more tenants like that, if he's pulling in that kind of footfall and he's managing his business. I mean, then it's a win-win.
even for the retailer, it's the rent revenue ratio that will matter in the end of the day.
Yeah, so that leads to the next question. There are many malls where, and I don't want to name them, but then there are many, and anybody can answer this. There are many malls where typically the mall's overall aura is so high that sometimes a retailer, surely out of vanity, doesn't want to leave, even if he's bleeding. So, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think there are enough and more examples.
And the mall in the same tone doesn't want the retailer to leave because it's a big name.
No, honestly, again, we need to see what space or what journey the asset is in, right? Whether we want to change the asset positioning from high premium to bridge to luxury, and then accordingly we go across and speak to the brands and ask them to leave. And as you rightly said, and that we have enough and more examples where they're, forget 15, 16%, we have brands where their occupancy is 100% or 120% as well. And then they refuse to move out because they want to be there as a branded store or a branding store. In that case, we need to analyze that ecosystem and the win-win and the join-up effort, which we actually sit down and make each brand understand that for the greater good of the asset, they have to give away store if the productivity is not being met.
Sudhir,
I'll give you a very valid reason why such situations occur. A good brand, when he goes to a marquee developer location, I think they as a team also become over-enthusiastic and go for an oversized store, which actually becomes a challenge in the long run. They don't think saying that, this mall, my ability to, in this catchment and in this category, I will be able to extract maximum this much of top line. They make that error of judgment and overestimate the top line and then overreact by taking an oversized store, which becomes a challenge. If it's a right-sized store in a good mall, for a good brand, I think this challenge 99% will not occur.
I agree, Rajendra. I think I know many brands who actually use these kind of store frontages more. They pay the rental from their marketing cost rather than from their business cost. So yeah, that's a very different story. I think we should not tread there. Yes.
See, these are the inherent risks for a mall. Sometimes you have to have these stores operational out of maybe a greater relationship with the brand house. These kind of things happen. And at the end of the day, see, we're also there to help someone grow. It's not that someone's going to come, open their doors on the first day and start firing on all cylinders. Sure. There are many times where you take a risk with a brand. On the first month, it may not work. On the second month, it may not work. But after 5-6 months, they have their roots in the ground and they start firing. So these are risks that a mall also has to take.
एंड इसमें अर्जुन सर एक और सिचुएशन है कि हमारे इंडिया में स्पेशली देयर आर सम ग्रुप्स हु हैव मेनी ब्रांड्स तो उनमें लाइक 5 बच्चे अच्छे हैं
वुड यू लाइक टू नेम देम
5 बच्चे अच्छे हैं और एक बच्चा जो बेचारा कमजोर है थोड़ा सा अब वो कहते हैं कि वो 5 लेने हैं तो ये भी रखना पड़ेगा ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जांपल हैं
योगेश्वर आई एम सॉरी बट मॉल्स आल्सो डू दैट
हम फिर हमें करना पड़ता है कि अगर ये मॉल नहीं ले रही तो वो वाली मॉल भी लेनी पड़ेगी तो इट्स इन द रिस्पांस टू व्हाट द रिटेलर्स डू टू अस
The retailer's perspective, we at Orra Diamonds, we are all about vanity. But then if there's no viability, the business is not going to sustain. So you should look at sustainability.
Deepika, I'll come to you. I have a very interesting question for you. But Sudhir, right now for you is, if retailers are sharing sales data and are signing agreements with a clause which says that if you do not achieve this TD, then we have a right of giving you enough warnings and then finally taking you out of the mall. Do you sign any such clauses with malls from their side?
Frankly, telling you I don't think so. There will be any of the mall which doesn't have this kind of clause in their agreement. Almost 99% of malls will have this clause.
So what's your view? Should they have or should they have?
Look, the risk has to be shared equally. If you are putting up this clause, then there has to be in reverse assurance or commitment in terms of a footfall, in terms of a right brand mix there on the floor. At the same time, there has to be, the way we want to share the upside of a business, then there has to be the MG, what we call it as, it is already at the yield. Right now, from the mall side, if I look at, it's more towards the yield driven than the retailer consumption point of view. If it has to be there in the agreement, then at the same time, we need to cover the other risk also. So that includes your footfall, along with that, the marketing expenses, what are their audited reports against that, what kind of help that the retailers are getting out of this. This needs to be also get captured there in that.
Okay. So, Deepika, the next question is for you. We see that a lot of brands are now expanding to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And you have malls which are coming up there. I'm sure your brands are also going there into those malls. If you were to compare them with some of the chain, better managed malls, with processes, what is your view? Where is actually the retailer facing the problem in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4? And what are those couple of things that a mall should do?
So I would say that tier 2, tier 3 is coming up. It's evolving. But when it comes to mall in particular, the infrastructure is still not developed to the way it should be. And high streets perform very well as compared to malls.
Okay. Rohit, this question, I think Steve, you and Rohit both can kind of contribute to this. What is that one clause that y'all would want the government of India to accept from a mall's perspective?
So this is from the approvals, mall approvals point of view, or also the operational point of view?
So both.
So both. So I'll definitely say from the government point of view, quick approvals. I think single window approvals, if we buy a land from development point of view, there has to be a single window rather than we going and knocking 2, 3 various departments and getting approval. Because as all of my esteemed partners have mentioned, the buying of land to launch a mall, there is already a debt and there's already a meter down for all of us. So the faster we do it, the better it is. That's one. But from an operational point of view, if something can be changed, and I think we were chatting before the session, which can really impact the operations and the consumption of the mall, I would recommend a single liquor license for the entire asset. And then we can have multiple brands operating under the same license. And I think that will be phenomenal, especially in southern part of the country, which the cost of licensing is obnoxious. When then occupancy cost, rent revenue ratio, everything goes for a toss. Yeah, so these are the 2 points.
I think from our experience, I think the single biggest issue would be, I would say that we should get a separate window to get our plans sanctioned much, much quicker, like a fast track. Because otherwise you're spending hundreds of crores to buy the land, then you're holding it, and I'm just saying in some states it takes almost as long as a year and a half, 2 years to get your plans sanctioned. So that's massive, massive financial toll on us as developers. So, yeah.
Arjun,
मैं एक बात बोल सकता हूँ कि एक पॉइंट है कि आपको पता है कि which law governs the mall? बहुत कम लोगों को पता होगा. Delhi Shops and Establishment Act 1954. We are governed by that. We are not a shop. Mall is not a shop. We don't sell anything. There is no. हमें पता ही नहीं है कि हम क्या हैं. मतलब malls 1954 में होती नहीं होंगी. तो 54 का Shops and Establishment हमारे पे applicable है 100%. So हमें एक ही help चाहिए सरकार से कि malls should be treated differently like the way, और industries का होना चाहिए, अलग से कोई ministry होना चाहिए, अलग से कोई इसका parameters होना चाहिए. We are not a shop.
So I will give you one very important aspect which the government should come up, and I think a lot of developers are talking about this. Not many people may know this, but when you build a mall, 40 to 50% of the construction cost does not get GST set off. A lot of people in the industry are pushing the government to allow this set off because that will help reduce our construction cost. And obviously, it will impact the business for the retailers in general, because if my capital cost goes down, I will borrow less capital, I will have less expectations on the rentals. So it will actually help a lot, but that is one demand which the construction sector has been putting to the government since long, not yet resolved.
Arjun, which is that one clause that you face the biggest difficulty with retailers, and what is that clause that you would want the retailer to agree to? That one clause in your agreement?
See, I think we've discussed this. It's the TD clause, the trading density. Yeah. See, it has to be understood that it is an assurance and a confidence being instilled in us from the retailer. At the end of the day, we don't want a retailer to go unnecessarily at the drop of a hat. We understand, yes, there are business cycles. Your one season would not go well. It's not going to happen that, okay, your one season didn't go well, and we can ask a person to leave. For a mall also, you have to understand that a mall has to be zoned properly. A curated mix of brand has to be arranged in a certain manner for the customers to like them. It is not that, you can replace X with A and A with F. It has to be like-minded brands in a similar kind of a price point that has to be placed together. So for a mall also, and if someone has to go, the last resort, if they will take a 3-month notice period, the performance would anyways be down. There would be a 1-month bare shell period, and there would be a 90-day period of a new person coming in, assuming that everything got synced. So that means a 6-month gap. So that means half a year is gone. What is the product for a mall? Space and time. I mean, simple science.
Correct. And I think
my both products are gone for half a year, so that affects us. So the TD has to be understood as more of a confidence instilling rather than something punitive.
Got it.
Correct.
Got it. Yes,
and
Rohit.
I think I'm just adding on to what Arjun mentioning. It's very critical. We also need to understand we are in the business of malls. We need to be relevant at all point of time to consumer as well, right? As Yogeshwar, Arjun, all of us are mentioning, and also few brands, the consumers are evolving and the requirements are changing on a daily and a lightning speed basis, right? So till the time we don't have that performance clause with each brand, right, we will not be able to create space for the new relevant brands coming in, right? And as rightly mentioned, we are in a space of real estate, right? It's hard box. We are the hardware, right? You can't swing in up and down so easily. So giving you a different perspective on that word as well.
Got it. So on that point of relevance, my question is to Deepika. Can you please tell me that if a mall calls you tomorrow and says, Deepika, your brand is no longer relevant to the catchment because, we have destination malls which over time becomes neighborhood mall, right? So let's say if you are no longer relevant and the mall calls you, will you accept to vacate?
Not really. It depends on my business number. If my average monthly sales are hitting, I will not be okay with it because there's certain amount of footfall that even I am contributing to the mall. I've spent on the capex, and there's some amount of marketing that I have done to create that as a destination store. So as long as my business is happening, it's absolutely okay.
Let's say the mall gives you a clean exit and says you are no longer relevant to our overall thought process of how we want to design the mall, because we are seeing that now. With more and more brands coming in, there are many brands which are exiting out into different high streets, and malls are recalibrating their entire mix. So you're trying to say you will not vacate?
No, I'm just saying that there is some, to be relevant, if you're not relevant to a mall, it also means that you're not relevant to your consumer. So
but many times a brand doesn't want to vacate
basis,
because there is some revenue coming from there.
Absolutely, but on a regular basis, see, in the end, customer is the king, right?
Yogeshwar, what's your view?
If a brand should also innovate and come up with a different product line and be relevant at all times.
Got it?
So I'll request Deepika to for a minute, yeah. So, with them, what happened? We had a very nice entertainment center in Mall of India, Noida, and they didn't perform, and NCLT में चला गया, 3 साल तक फंसे रहे. फिर दीपिका आती है कि मैं इसे ठीक कर दूंगी.
NCLT में खरीदा उससे पहले की.
तो इन्होंने जाके NCLT से खरीद लिया वो वाला. अब NCLT से खरीदने के बाद कह रहे हैं कि हम बहुत बढ़िया करेंगे. अब हमें लगता है कि ये कुछ करेंगे, पर कितना कर पाएंगे ये नहीं पता हमें ना. तो हम भी सफ़र कर रहे हैं पिछले 5 साल से. एंड द न्यू फेस कम्स एंड से कि नाउ गिव मी. एंड ये जनरली रिटेलर्स का एक ट्रेंड है, जब ज़्यादा कॉल आते हैं ना तो उनका एक्सपायरी होने वाला होता है या रिन्यूअल ड्यू होता है, उससे पहले फ़ोन नहीं आता, जनरली नहीं आता है. तो हम समझ जाते हैं, हमें चेक नहीं करना पड़ता कि किसका रिन्यूअल आ रहा है. उस वीक में जो कॉल आ रहे हैं वो रिन्यूअल वाले ही आ रहे हैं जनरली. उस
5 साल की सफरिंग थी, तब ओनर कोई और था.
जब रिन्यूअल के लिए आते हैं देन इट्स वेरी, मैं एक्सेप्शंस की बात कर रहा हूँ, मतलब जनरल मत समझना इसको. कुछ लोग अच्छे भी हैं रिटेलर्स, ऐसे नहीं हैं. तो वो क्या करते हैं कि वो आते हैं और आके फिर वो उनके पास एक बहुत सुंदर एक प्रेजेंटेशन होता है कि अब मैं इसको ऐसा कर दूंगा और उससे ये हो जाएगा. अब हम तो वेट कर रहे थे 3 साल से कि ये ऐसा हो जाए, पर और डेवलपर्स के पास भी इतनी बैंडविड्थ नहीं होती, कम एम्प्लॉइज होते हैं,
So, Sanjeev,
ओनर हैं, तो वो इतनी क्लोजली वॉच नहीं कर पाते हम। तो जब वो आता है, पता लगता है कि वाह अब हम कुछ करेंगे, तो हमें फिर लगता है कि क्या इनको रिप्लेस करने की कॉस्ट बहुत ज़्यादा है। जैसे सर ने बताया कि 6 महीने वेस्ट हो जाते हैं रिप्लेस करने के लिए, तो वी ऑल्सो गेट स्टक कि अब रिप्लेस करें या इसको एक मौका दे देते हैं कि भाई ये कर लेगा। तो ये बैटल चलती रहती है ना।
But Yogeshwar,
मैं आई टेक बैक माई वर्ड्स, इट वाज नॉट दीपिका, कोई और था वो।
this, Sanjeev, to add to this, like the
I
brand,
want you all to keep a watch on the bottles and the glasses next to each other, yeah? I don't want it to go there, yeah. Okay, yes.
brands getting irrelevant to the mall or the catchments will not happen overnight. It is a phenomena which will take years. And in between, you have a cycle of renewals, wherein we have an aspiration to have a global designs. Along with that comes a higher capex. If malls are ready to cover up that, I don't see currently in current scenario, if you get a smooth exit, will there be a clause that the WDV of your capex or the investment will cover? Will mall will be ready to bear that, like you can say, the share of that hit which the P&L is going to take? So that also need to be that captured then, because it has to be win-win proposition for both of us.
Got it. Okay. So, in today's date, we see lot of retail brands which are working on Omnichannel. There are many food brands which are working on dark kitchens. There are many brands who tell me that यार food court तक आके Swiggy या Zomato वो सामान लेके जाने में time लग रहा है, ये लग रहा है. But at the same tone, I know many malls are trying to create a platform which the retailers can be a part of. And they want to run that as a unified platform for all the retailers in a mall. So from the mall side, I want to comment on this as to how is that progressing, if any of you all are doing it. And from the retailer side, how feasible is it and how open are you to be a part? Because every time I'm asking a question, it's boiling down to partnership है जी. तो ये partnership कैसे चल रहा है, ये बताइए जरा.
Already, like, if you ask me, already we are in contract wherein on the SOR model, we are getting on their platforms, listing our products, wherein these products are getting offered to the customer, end user. So SOR basis, till the time it is making sense for both of us, from the retailer side of it and the developer side of it, we are good to go. And we are doing that. In fact, right now, it's been more than a year.
Are you as aggressive as you are in your on your other business?
Not that.
Why?
It depends, like how the developer side of it promotes this business and what kind of footfall or tickets that gets generated from this side of revenue stream. Depending on that, we are ready, we are open to do that.
Did Myntra generate like the same revenues it did on the first day with you?
It definitely, it takes time, but...
So I want a comment from the mall, please.
We have a real life example, Sanjeev, at Forum South Bangalore, which is a flagship in JP Nagar. So when we were fitting the mall out, we planned a 15,000 square feet on a lower ground floor zone as a fulfillment center of sorts, where retailers within the mall could sort of launch off their micro deliveries within a 5-kilometer radius. But unfortunately, we were not able to make it work because we didn't get enough, we didn't get enough takers. A lot of the retailers said, listen, we've already tied up with delivery platforms. We already have a warehouse close by. So it's one of those things that could sound very good in theory, because we are now having to retro lease that store out. 15,000 square feet was the plan, but since it's not taken, we're trying to find other uses for it. So it's a bit of a tricky one.
So is it because the brands have not taken a serious look at it, or is it that you thought that it's not worth pursuing, maybe leasing it out will be better?
We tried pursuing it with brands. I believe the costs didn't work out for them because they've already tied up with third-party delivery guys.
Rohit, I think you all are doing some great work there. What's your view?
So yeah, we had launched inobbitonline.com, so where we've ensured that all the brands come onto the platform and we deliver products in 10-kilometer radius within 2 hours. And the model is actually a service model for the brands in the store, so that the stock of the store gets a further offtake. Our fundamental thing was a store gets 12 months to do sales. If we add this channel to the store, can a brand deliver 13-month sales? Can there be an additional 1 month sales through this channel? But yes, we've got a mixed bag. Few brands are doing very well. Few brands are struggling. Few brands are still at the fence. They're still thinking and debating out how, what percentage revenue share and so on and so forth. So yes, it's a mixed bag at this moment. Yeah.
Okay. I would circle back to you, Rajendra. Probably we had this little talk back there in the speaker lounge. How do you see the entire landscape of shopping destinations growing in the next 5 to 10 years? And how do you think that's going to change for the A, for the retailer, B, for the consumer?
Talking of future, which is very dangerous, but at least to my understanding, I think the India overall growth story is extraordinary. In particular, consumption is going to be a booming part of Indian lifestyle. India is one country which is not so capitalist as US, or it is neither so non-capitalist or communist as China. I think it is well placed in that scenario. The government is also putting a lot of efforts, a lot of ease of doing business policies the government is rolling out. From a retail, real estate perspective, the government is really coming up with a lot of different sets of laws and norms which are helping, say, for example, a long-standing requirement of having India as a 365-day working, women working late. All of these ease of doing business have become true in the last 1 year. The cost of capital in India is coming down, so the amount of investment that one can expect into shopping centers is going to be very high. Which you rightly mentioned once, that tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities are actually growing in much faster rate as compared to the metros and urban cities in the India. So the amount of real estate for retail which is going to come up in these cities is going to be humongous, and we will find that, today if the retail portfolio of 1,000 crore plus mall in the country is not more than 50, I think in the next 5 years there will be at least 500 malls which will be doing more than 1,000 crores in consumption.
Fantastic. So this question is for Yogeshwar and for Arjun, both of you. What is that one reform that you all want to happen, let's say, in the next 1 year? One reform from your growth perspective, or one reform from a government policy perspective, which would help y'all, since y'all are one of the top leading malls in India?
Reduce GST to 0.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love that.
And my point would be to recognize this at a different from the Shops and Establishment Act. There should be an industry. There should be rules and which are conducive to doing the business, because otherwise neither we are real estate nor we are real estate, but then retail real estate is slightly different. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, I think we just 5 minutes left. So it's open to anybody who wants to answer this. Now, we have seen a lot of cross-questioning between the retailers. There are a lot of things which the retailers are still not saying because they fear they might lose their space if they open up so hard.
No. I'm just telling you,
Hold on, let me just finish.
Developers are very innocent people. Honestly, all the developers are very innocent, and what happens, we are learning from the retailers. पहले ये कुछ ऐसा करते हैं, मैं कहता हूँ ऐसे भी हो सकता है, then we catch up, and then they move to the next one, then they move to the next one, and then we keep catching up. Yeah.
So my question is open to all of you. Instead of getting into this, continuous discussion between the retailer and the mall, like Yogeshwar, you said, phone तभी आती है जब renewal होता है, या phone तभी आती है जब rent कम करना होता है. तो basically my question is, how do the retailer and mall work together as a partner? What is those things that you all need to do together? What are those things you'll need to understand about each other to create that happy married life? Maybe you have a couple of fights, but then the flow should be smooth. What is that? What do you all think?
Okay, so I'll start with a couple of observations while working with malls. One, as we already discussed, the MG bit. But most of the cases, the MG, while it of course protects your downside, at the very same time, it is also as equivalent to a rent. Some of us are not agreeing to the fact, but yes, if you ask me, your downside is protected through whatever is your yield. So that is one thing. The MG has to be MG. Second, as a retailer point of view, as you said,
renewal. That while we are renewing, it has to be demand backed. So retailers are also working, I'm sure, towards that. That okay, wherever there are demand, they are only renewing those assets and properties and investing heavily on those micro geographies. So I'm sure it is going to be co-creation of malls and retailers. Yeah.
My simple question is that if a retailer is working out very well, then why would a developer disturb him? Tell me this. I mean, the mere fact that developer has come to a retailer that you are not working out, there has to be some logic behind it. Now, recently in Mall of India, there was a brand who was doing a TD or a trading density of 4,000 rupees. As per him, it was excellent. I mean, no, he said he was like jumping. But then there's another one who comes and says, I will do the same space, 10,000 rupees trading density and with confidence. So that means consumers are wanting that brand to be there. So we have no other option than to replace him or optimize the space, reduce the space, or find way for another brand to come in. Because if the freshness is not there, will not remain relevant for after a while.
Yes, please.
I will give you one analogy before we start talking about retail and retail real estate. How many of you know how NVIDIA and OpenAI partnered with themselves to bring up their valuation by $200 billion each above in the American stock market? I think that partnership sets a serious example how a retailer and a retail real estate can partner together. Retail has to understand that their competition is e-commerce, quick commerce, minute commerce, and all of that. Shopping centers have to understand that their competition is Amazon, Flipkart, and so on and so forth, and many Mintras or whichever would come by in future. If as physical retail, both do not marry and fight together from these e-commerce and quick commerce channels, eventually both are going to suffer. Today, the market share is in a maybe slightly tilted for hard stores. A time will come by when perhaps that will shift in a dramatic manner, and people won't even realize in a flip how it has changed, and people will be struggling with their retail real estate and retail stores. So it is very important that retailers and the shopping centers together come up with a game plan which helps both of them to increase their top line so that they can survive and compete together with the other channels of consumers.
Yeah, but I'm a strong believer in brick and mortar. I strongly feel malls will stay forever. Relevant रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है. And you know, people don't go for shopping purpose in the mall. Shopping happens by chance. I mean, you go to the mall, many times if you look back, it's an experience. No, you want to go out, you want to go have a coffee, you want to have entertainment. Where will you take your family, on a weekend? So malls are bound to there if the malls are relevant.
Times are changing. Convenience is taking over experiences.
I have bought, I mean, my kids are younger than me.
Okay, this is a retailer versus mall, not mall versus mall.
But I'll say that it has to be win-win on both the
Anyway,
sides.
that was a joke. But on that joke, thank you so much. I think we are just bang on time. And just to wrap this up, and before we take some questions from the audience, I believe the real question is not, whether retailers are overpaying or malls are, changing the brands because of certain relevance and all of that. I think overall, the issue is whether the entire ecosystem is under partnering. So the overall ecosystem, encompasses the brand, the mall, the catchment, the consumption, the kind of changes that are happening in the 5-kilometer radius of the consumers, their consumption, and the government support, and suddenly whether there is a road or a flyover coming in front of the mall. So it's all about the ecosystem. But nevertheless, I thought there's going to be more arguments today, but I think you guys are partnering well with each other. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, lady. Thank you so much for being here. We now open the session for questions, please. Yes, can someone get a mic up there? Yeah, we can just take one question. Yeah.
But just keep it simple, because yesterday you got 100 answers, you are not happy.
Okay. So I'll just keep it simple because all the mall stalwarts are here. I just wanted to put up a point that like if US has more than 500, if you look at QSR chains having more than 500 stores, that number is 75 in the US. And I'm assuming that India has a similar population of food lovers. Why that number is less than 10 in India? So if you see D2C food, massive disruption has happened with a lot of new brands, but in QSR, that's not happened. Somewhere QSR brands struggle with the fact that when you innovate on new concepts, or for example, a regional brand wants to go to another region, or even the established guys want to set up a new pilot brand. The problem is that high street, the formats are too big, and malls have only one food court. May I suggest a thing that, you can carve out an area which is an experiential zone, because people get bored in food, they want to try new things all the time, and there are plenty of new concepts which can bloom. And maybe you guys can only do this, make this happen, that if you set up an area, maybe you can repurpose some area from, let's say, a multiplex which is not doing well in off-peak seasons.
So I
when
would
there is
request
no
you to please
blockbuster.
keep your question brief
Sure,
if there's
sure.
a question.
Okay, the question is, can you create an experiential zone where, let's say, 10, 15 brands can, let's say, partner on a 1 to 3 month duration and test the product out. If it works, you graduate them to the main food court. If it doesn't work, the reputation risk is minimal.
Yeah, we got your question. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, I think if you all really want to answer this...
I will meet you separately and answer
can you
this
just
question.
meet all of them separately outside or in the speaker lounge? Because we have a very special guest who's lined up just after this, and we need to wrap this up. So thank you so much.